Just a quick apology here for taking so long for getting this episode out. With the whole COVID lockdown thing and other projects I've had going on, I kind of pushed this to the side, so my bad on that. The next several episodes will be coming out in a more timely manner, so thank you for your patience, and let's get on with this one. Hey there everybody, Racecrafter here, and welcome to a new Build Ideas video. Episode number 2 of our mini-series on how to build better in Minecraft. And if you haven't already, I would urge you to consider subscribing, as this mini-series does take you through the process from start to finish, and by subscribing and hitting that notification bell, you'll be sure not to miss a single episode. So in this episode, we will be talking about depth and dimension along with connected textures, and how to execute those. So, now that you know what we'll be talking about, let's get started. So what I have here is a typical generated village house. Very boring, very square, very flat, very not interesting. You can see here the connected textures, the oak wood and the white terracotta have nothing to break them up. They're very flat. The door here is very flat on the front. It does have a little porch here to create a tiny bit of interest, but nowhere near enough to make it interesting. The roof does have a slight reveal to it, so it at least has that. But the connected textures and the flatness, it can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. It's got to be changed. So, what we'll be doing in this episode is I will be showing you a transformation of this home, and we will be applying what we've learned in episode number 1 and executing that here in episode number 2. So, moving over here, this is the layout of that home there. Very boring, very square, very not interesting. This is the block palette that they chose with the oak wood, the cobblestone, mossy cobble, white terracotta, glass paint or glass blocks. Well, actually glass panes, but glass. Oak wood planks and oak wood stairs with torches for lighting. So, applying what we learned in episode number 1, we start with a layout. And this is the layout that I came up with. Of course, adding angles to it, adding some interest, making it a little bit weird maybe, but in the end, it will definitely be interesting and create a wow factor. Moving here to the block palette, I wanted to stay as close to the original block palette as possible and only adding just a few things just to kind of create the transformation of that home so that you would know that what I recreated is directly connected to that particular home. So I added stone bricks and stripped oak wood logs to the main block palette. I stuck with the white terracotta, the clear glass, the oak wood fences, swapped out the torches for lanterns, added a spruce trapdoor, and for the accent detailing blocks, added spruce planks, smooth stone, and for the unconventional block, I added the barrel. And I did go ahead and lay out my glass here for what I proposed to be the windows. In the end, it actually did work out. I did not have to move any of the windows. So, this time it worked out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the windows, kind of come into play afterwards. But that's one of the things we had discussed in episode 1. So, what did I come up with? Let's take a look. And here is the new transformed village home. Much more interesting. Definitely not boring. And depth and dimension have been created. And connected textures are very, very minimal. So, what do I mean about depth and dimension? Oak wood logs step out from the layout. The stripped oak logs kind of step back 1, And then the white terracotta step back again, creating that reveal point, creating that depth. It's not just a whole one linear flat surface. Again, with the stairs at the top and bottom of the windows, creating that reveal, using glass panes creates that reveal, creates that depth, creates that interest. And as far as connected textures go, see right here where the cobble meets the oak wood, or the stripped wood. You want to try and use something to break up that connected texture. Now, even though it's still there, it's got some kind of reveal, some kind of jet out that kind of takes you away from that connected texture. It blends it better. It smooths out that transition. Now down here you can see this connected texture here. I left it alone. Now you don't have to cover up every single solitary connected texture, just most of them. And some of them like this, you know, it's no big deal. But you can see here, like everything kind of steps back and it creates those peaks and valleys. That's what I mean by depth, by creating those reveal points. And what dimension, it's more of a, think of it maybe as layers. So, you know, the oak wood logs is one layer, the stripped oak is a second layer, the white terracotta is a third layer. You're layering it, stepping it back, or bringing it forward, whichever the case may be. And you're just creating those reveal points, those shadow points, and getting away from the whole flatness of it. And again, up here, kind of creating some difference and some reveal points, and taking away from the boringness of it. You know, kind of using different blocks in a way that they kind of blend and smooth out together. And creating all these I want to say jet out points, but like these, you know, just these little points here that kind of create those reveals and those shadow points. And then this overhang here creates a nice effect. And one thing I like to do also with the stairs on the side here, see this little point right here? By placing the stairs at these angles, it just kind of gives you a little hint of that color pop there and texture change. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another thing with the glass panes here, if you were to have the window with just the blocks like that, okay, it looks fine. But by adding these panes on the side, look at the difference that makes. It really makes it look pretty cool. You know, even though these panes really aren't doing anything to add any extra, you know, window portion of it or adding extra light coming in, it just makes that window, it transforms that window into something much different. So I thought that was really cool. So there's a little tip for you there. And again, keeping with the same block palette, it still has that essence of the original house with the white terracotta, the logs and everything, but it's way more interesting. And here, using the spruce trap doors as kind of a accent decoration, cutting off the connected texture up here, and then adding the block down here to mimic what was up top there. You know, just a little something. And talking about the foundation area, making it more solidified and anchored down into the ground, so doesn't feel like it's just sitting on top of the ground. And then up here on the roof, you know, I explained, like making patterns, you know, trying to get those different colors, different textures to create some patterns, to create some interest. And, you know, in the end, it just really all comes together. And using a lot of stairs and a lot of slabs, and I went really minimalistic on the actual details. Typically, I would detail this out maybe a little bit more, but I wanted to keep with the not boring theme of the, well, it definitely is boring, but I wanted to just kind of keep it a little more in touch with the original house over there. So just adding like these little reveal points and, you know, a little bit of fence posts up there with the hanging lanterns, and using the stairs and different textures to create these overhangs, and making sure that the windows and the panes, you know, there's just a very, very slight overhang of that glass pane over the stairs. But that's not a deal breaker. Not a deal breaker. That's okay. And again here with the smooth stone slabs, creating that foundation for that anchor point here. Another cool thing, also using trapdoors, you can, you know, help to eliminate those connected textures. Anything that breaks up one texture touching another on the same linear path is a good thing. I wanted to make this entrance really interesting too by adding the doors on an angle and having them come out this way rather than pointing inwards. Kind of creates just a tick extra space on the inside and makes it look kind of cool. You know, you've got these little reveal points here, and again up here with the stairs, kind of creating that little difference, or you know, kind of pop of color there with the white terracotta. And then on the inside, this is where I use the barrel for a kind of a pattern in the floor here, and using slabs and trapdoors to take away from those connected textures at the base, and again at the top here using trapdoors. These trapdoors kind of hide the connected texture of those wood planks there, and the trapdoors, even though they're thin, they do give just enough of a reveal and enough of a thickness to, you know, just to kind of create the interest. And again with the stairs along the ceiling point here, and leaving a space here, and what I've done is put lighting up in these dead spaces up here. When at night, it creates a really cool effect for lighting up there. And then in this portion here, I've hidden lights underneath these trapdoors. So, whoops. Oh, and I'm breaking everything. I get that F1 back. Let's fix this. Don't want to have a broken house here, do we? Boom, boom, and boom. All right, we're good. And so by hiding that lighting, you don't necessarily have to have the lighting inside here. And if we switch to nighttime, you can see it's nice and bright in here, but not a single sight of light or lamp or anything like that. Now, of course, like I said, interiors are very subjective. I chose not to do an interior just because, you know, it can go all kinds of different ways, and this portion of the miniseries is not about interiors. We will be getting to that later on in the series, so you'll want to watch out for that one. But for now, I left it just kind of as is, just a tiny little bit of something in here. And again, up here with the trapdoors, kind of hiding that connected texture there, and just enough of a thickness to create a little bit of interest and kind of break that up. Oh, I didn't do it on that one. But, you know, you don't have to do it on every single one. You could have done something different over here, like maybe with by doing that, or breaking up the color a little bit with spruce maybe. You know, you can put it there, or put one up here, one there. You know, kind of creating a little bit of an archway. You know, just kind of play around with different ideas and make it interesting, not so linear and not so what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily boring, but not so predictable. Not predictable by doing that. You know, and then down here, it's got all these different layers, so it's got that interest to it. Now, there is quite a bit of cobble, but when you're down here, you know, it all kind of fits and works together. Now, I want to also make sure that I let you guys know, all that we're talking about in this applies to anything that you want to build in Minecraft. Doesn't just apply to structures. And I will be showing you some examples of some wall designs that I like to use, and creating depth and dimension with those, and trying to eliminate the connected textures. So let's go take a look at some wall designs, and I'll meet you over there. And here's a wall design I've done for a end portal room. And as you can see, it's got the 1, 2, 3, actually probably got about 4 different layers of depth that go in. And by using stairs and slabs, you can really create these cool patterns with, you know, like these little reveal boxes, and using different colors, you know, complementary colors, of course. But here we've got some orange terracotta and some regular terracotta. And, you know, it really provides that interest, and I think it looks pretty cool. You know, it's framed in, it's got the stairs that kind of bring everything out, and it's got a little bit of difference with the chiseled blocks, and just enough detail in there. Actually, it's the placement of the stairs and the slabs that really give it the detail. So I didn't want to like take away from that by adding, like, you know, a bunch of trapdoors or a bunch of fence posts and stuff like I would usually kind of do. But, you know, this is one advantage, or one example of a cool wall design that gives you that good depth and dimension. And you know, by doing little things like this one over here is just very simple, but, you know, it steps back and it gives that depth and gives that interest to it. And so that's one design. Let's move on to another one. Not so much a wall design, but this is the design I came up with for my nether tunnel, and my portal's just over there. And it maybe not so much a great example of depth and dimension, but with the details and everything that's going on, it does provide some of that, more so from the outside than the inside, with like the different levels here on the roof part, and then, you know, like using the stairs and stuff to create these I don't even know what to call them, little archway things going over. But, you know, it's just something that definitely creates interest, and there is some form of depth and dimension here by creating different ins and outs with the blocks on the inside as well as on the outside. So I just wanted to kind of show that real quick to just maybe give you some ideas for, you know, different types of pathways or tunnels or something like this, where you can make it look super cool. But what is that doing there? Oops, forgot to take that away. But, you know, just something very different for a nether tunnel, I thought, anyway, especially with the glass and that on the sides. Because with this huge lava pool here, I mean, a massive lava pool, I thought it would be cool to be able to see it every time you walk through the nether tunnel. Okay, so moving on. And here's a wall design I've used in my storage room / little farm room, smelter room area. Again, it's got the levels, it's got the layering of the step out. It does have a lot of detail, a lot of different block textures. There's only a very few areas, like here where the white meets the birch, where the connected texture is not separated. But it was just something I came up with, and I really, really like the way this came out. It looks a little busy, but it's interesting, and it's got a bunch of stuff going on, and it's not boring. It's not your typical just flat wall with maybe some logs going up, or some you know, some stairs or something creating a pattern. But, you know, it's just this little tour thing I'm doing here is more to give you ideas and inspiration to play around with different ideas and different block types, and kind of do things that you wouldn't normally do to kind of create your own style and create something a little different. And then up here, that is what I'm kind of calling a shadow box. You can kind of see up here, there's torches in that you can't really see from down here, but it creates that kind of shadowy kind of reveal thing. And since you can't see the torches up there, it makes that color pop because it's so bright. And it's just something I came up with that's a little bit different, and it just creates something really cool looking. I use the blue to well, it's the theme color I've got going on, but it kind of mimics the sky. So the sky's coming in because I build a lot of stuff underground. But so there's you know, another example with you know, the stairs going in different directions that create those shadow points, so it's different reveals, and the slabs and stuff coming together, and using the fence posts to support things, and using different block textures behind to kind of create the sense of depth, because I didn't actually have the spacing to do the depth, but you know, you kind of get the idea of what at least I hope I'm trying to explain this as best I can, to try and get that when you don't have the space like this, to try and give that illusion of depth and dimension by using different colors and different textures, and just a slab or something just to kind of bring it off the base texture wall at the back. And cool little chandelier thing going on too. Okay, so moving on. Next, another wall design example. This one a little more simple, but you know, there's enough here to keep it interesting and to keep that depth and dimension theme going. You can see the white concrete is a step back, the red nether brick, then the stone bricks, and then the stairs, just kind of creating that pattern kind of thing going on. So it does have some depth and dimension while still being very simple. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated or anything. And you can also do these same types of things on the ceiling. Here I've chosen to use magma blocks for the ceiling, and using slabs, half of the you know, the top half of the block, by giving that little reveal of the half block of the magma. You know, it really creates a little bit of depth and dimension up there as well. And then, you know, with these storage area things, going back a block or two, you know, and creating a little depth and dimension there, rather than just having this whole thing flat, really creates some interest and some different things. And here's an example of almost everything we've been talking about put into one. It's got angles, it's got a bunch of interest and a bunch of detail, and it's got a lot of depth and dimension. Now, to be honest with you, this is probably my most favorite design that I've come up with to date playing this game. There's a lot of different levels, there's a lot of different angles, there's a lot of different nooks and crannies, and the textures, not too many textures, but enough to keep some interest going. And there's a whole bunch of different reveal points and levels and layers and all these shadows. I'm stuck on a block, and all these shadow points and everything. And it's just something that really creates a heck of a lot of interest. And especially by doing it on an angle, it really changes things. It allows you to add things in different ways and create that interest. Here again, talking with the blue, with the stairs, you know, in that configuration, with the just revealing that little pop of color there, that I guess is a quarter block maybe, and all these different aspects to it that really make it alive in a way. You know, there's so much going on, and I don't know, it's just, I just love this, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. And hopefully by showing you all these different things, I'm inspiring you to try different things. I mean, now obviously my style is not going to be liked by everybody. I get that, not a problem. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully I'm giving you some ideas and inspiration that you can incorporate into your style, that kind of maybe steps it up a little bit, and you know, kind of you're able to maybe create something a little bit different, and something that you'll be proud of as well. Okay, moving on to something else. And here is a wool farm that I had designed, and I haven't shown this example yet. I just kind of walked by it and was like, oh yeah, this would be a good one. By leaving this airy spot here, like there's no blocks in there, by leaving that whole space empty, it creates depth and dimension. And you know, by having the the blue concrete back there and having like a roof on it there, but leaving this little spot here kind of void of blocks, it really creates a different look and a different, it creates that airiness and that depth and dimension. There, you know that there's something behind there, and it's not just a flat brick wall or whatever kind of wall there, and I really kind of like these floating slabs. It looks kind of cool. And then over here I wanted to show real quick a bridge design where you can create the depth and dimension with the footings of the bridge or the supports of the bridge by going in a block and putting some color or something behind there, or just putting a fence post inside there, or or just something to create that depth to it. And by putting a different color, you can see there's a white concrete behind there. By putting a different color behind there, it kind of changes it a little bit. And there's a heck of a lot of detail I put into this bridge, and you might recognize some of these from my my 15 lantern designs video. But that's another way to create depth and dimension and not having everything so flat and linear. Just play around with ideas, throw blocks down, even if you think it's kind of crazy looking. I mean, look at this. If you don't think that's crazy looking, then then you're just as crazy as I am. But just throw stuff down by placing these stairs coming out and then putting the fence post supports there. It just creates something a little bit different, Okay, so there's those examples. So let's head back to the super flat world, and we'll close out this episode of the build ideas. So that's going to close out this episode. I really hope that I was able to explain things properly. It's a little difficult for me to explain them, which is why I did a lot of visual examples to kind of show you what I kind of mean by what I'm talking about. So I know this episode went kind of long, but I wanted to make sure that I showed you as many examples as possible, to give you as many ideas as possible, to give you that inspiration to to build stuff and try out different ideas and try out those different block types and just do things differently, to create something really, really cool. So thank you so much for watching. And like I said, I will get the next episodes out in a more timely manner. It won't be such a long wait. And next episode number 3, we're going to be talking about detailing. I have shown quite a few examples of a lot of detailing already, but we'll make that episode kind of short, and we'll talk about more of how to kind of come up with the areas and placement of those details. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. I'm out of here. See ya.